because she's always going to be potent just because of her kit, not necessarily because of her numbers, that global presence, the ability to invade freely with Tremorsense, things like that. But it's much more been about the Echo. And TBQ finally got his hands on that champion. Unfortunately, couldn't translate it into a win, but, you know, kind of shored up some of his weaknesses as far as kind of his sense for engagement, because Echo gives you the ability to reset, so it's not as punishing. And
we've also seen a lot of sort of evolution of Echo over the LPL for the past few weeks. We saw him taken as an AP assassin, then as a tanky jungler, then the initiation style Echo that's been off and on. So it should be exciting to see how that ends up playing out. But we're already running through the bans between Snake and LGD. Shen taken away from Acorn.
I actually really like the Shen ban coming out. We've seen a lot of success. I think Zatai, no, it was either Amazing J or Zatai was the first one to really bring Shen out after the patch changes. He's seen, again, a lot of success, especially with these massive 4-man taunts, but that's what we were talking about. We're talking about Echo, and he's the priority pick that Snake are going to instantly lock.
The man of the hour himself has been picked up for ZZR, likely enough.
I actually think
it'll be flex.
Yeah, I was just going to say, it could definitely be a flex pick. We've seen Flandre play it in the top lane with a ridiculous build. See if he does it again.
I actually do want to talk a little bit about the bans for LGD. You've got Azir taken away from you, Ryze pulled from Flandre, and Hecarim also taken away, all of which are AoE team fight sort of teams that LGD Snake love to play with.
Yeah, and it's a lot of focus on Flandre. Even the Azir, he played the Azir top in the Demacia Cup, so all of those, again, can be aimed at Flandre. We talked about who's going to be the strongest carry of Snake. They've got power points across their roster, as any top team in the LPL should, but Flandre is going to be your go-to.
Yeah, and here are the first picks for LGD. It's Imp on Sivir, and TPQ going to be on that comfort pick Gragas.
Looking for the disengage. I like the fact that Janna is being hovered over in response to Snake. I feel like it's way too potent to give teams both Janna and Gragas, because you simply give them both of the best reset options in the game. So no surprise to see Ella take that one away. And Ella's a fantastic Janna player. When he first was introduced on Snake and we got to see him in the LPL, he played primarily 2 champions, Thresh and Janna.
Well, we'll see how he performs in this game as he's going up against PYL, one of the best supports in League of Legends right now.
Best supports in the world.
Yeah, and Imp, the AD carry king himself, the guy who has his own Twitch skin. Looks to be a pretty solid pick for Ella, but on the other side, you've got Fizz locked in. Interesting to see all of these flex coming out with that Echo and Fizz.
I know, you have no idea what Flandre's playing right now. No surprise to see Acorn kind of go back to his, last-second swap into a Renekton, never mind.
So tell me about Renekton.
Acorn is playing Renekton, which is hilarious because I feel like Flame is on their roster. And watch, Flame will play Rumble next game.
And they'll just swap it back and forth. Do you think they've been doing 1v1 scrims to try to learn each other's laning pool?
I just kind of feel like they're trying to do their best impersonation of each other. Like LG's like, okay, if you can play his champion pool better than he can play it, then you get the spot.
Either that or they flip a coin before every game, and it always comes up Acorn first. Just the weirdest happenstance possible. But Braum locked in for PYL. We've been seeing a lot of Braum lately, and it will be paired with Imp's Sivir. Now Snake on the other side look to lock in and deal with that by going for Martin on Vayne and Yu on Victor.
We talked about how Martin doesn't really play the hyper. I mean, he can play hyper carry because he does like Jinx, but it's more positional based, and then he pulls out the Vayne, which I still feel kind of thematically fits more with Crystal. That said, I really like Vayne and Janna. Especially against Sivir and Braum, although we'll see if we actually get a true 2v2 or if it will be a lane swap, just because Janna is going to empower Vayne's attack speed build by also augmenting her with her shield to give her that free BF sort of stats.
Yeah, I know that's one of your favorite statistics to throw around. Because then you go for the Blade of the Ruined King or the BF sword.
Cost efficient for the damage that you get, and it just has absurd scaling potential, and then also empowers Vayne's lackluster siege.
We'll have to see as the last pick for LGD is locked in. That's going to be Godvi on Kassadin, the man himself.
And we've seen this a lot where people will go back to Kassadin when they see a Victor. Victor, he's just going to be the go-to champion. We've seen him play it all day, earlier weeks. He's strong in the lane phase, strong in the mid game. He's got massive AoE utility in the late game, so he hits all of the cards. Kassadin, he's going to be able to walk through lane phase with a shield and be relatively okay against Victor, and then just be that obnoxious monster that Doinby proved that he can be earlier in the day. as far as that mid-game, late game.
Here we're running through the rosters right now. Flandre going to be taking Fizz, and ZZR rocking Echo.
Ooh, taking the Echo jungle into TBQ's Gragas. Curious to see how this new sub will perform. That said, one of the weaker junglers is who he's facing across from, so
could be an
not
opportunity.
A lot of pressure.
Yeah, definitely. We'll see if he manages to flex it. You just saw the mid laners right there. Here's Martin and Imp, the sub for Snake, replacing Crystal, going up against the world champion himself. Not a lot of pressure there.
No pressure at all, especially because he'll have Ella next to him in that bot lane on Braum.
And yeah, PYL going to be taking Braum, Ella on Janna.
Ah, whoops.
And that's going to be
really.
it. You can see some of the fans cheering on their teams as we prepare. I love that hat. That's so great.
You want the Ella hat?
I kind of wanted the Beast one, but
just so you can have a beast on your head?
Yeah, exactly. Walking around with a Beast halo.
I'm curious why we haven't seen the princess skins or the princess posters.
Oh, I'm sure they're there. They're in the new stadium now.
Yeah.
So the camera just doesn't have vision of...
Stage is beautiful.
Yeah. You just can't see because look at that. They've got multiple layers.
They've updated all of the, I think they're called tiers. Multiple tiers. They've updated all of the graphics over the stream. Looks fantastic.
Yeah, it looks absolutely beautiful. Remember, we're loading into the rift between Snake and LGD. It looks to be really exciting. I mean, so we're running through the picks real quick. Sivir, Braum versus Janna, Vayne. I know you like talking about the Janna Vayne, but this is Imp on Sivir.
Imp's been having a fantastic performance on Sivir. He's one of the most aggressive Sivir players right now that has the champion. Watch how he uses the auto reset, especially because he's in tandem with Braum by proccing the concussive blows. But Imp will constantly abuse Sivir's passive and the W ricochet auto reset to tower dive people and find that last auto. And again, PYL's Braum's just going to empower that incentive.
Not to mention the combination of being able to rush Braum into the enemy team with On the Hunt, allow for even more picks. And let's talk a little bit about these junglers. We've got the new guy, ZZR on Echo, who's all about that zone control with the parallel convergence. Well, what's the best way to deal with that? Disengage. Gragas Barrel.
Likewise, Echo has an absurd win rate right now from the jungle position in particular. It was 75% at the start of the week. Obviously, it's been adjusted as we've had a few Echo games being played. And you would think that that would be boosted by the top teams just getting their hands on Echo, players like Kakao, players like... I mean, Clearlove hasn't really played it, but you know what I'm saying, like if EDG is just playing it. But it's actually Amy and MLXG who have boosted the Echo stat. So just power to the pick as opposed to power to the team.
Yeah, very strong pick. That's a neat stage. I really like that stage. But yeah, let's continue talking about that a little bit because I really look forward to some of the aggression that we're seeing out of these ganks. And hopefully we'll see that turn out rather well as we load into the Rift for game number 1. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the LPL. It's Snake versus LGD as we load onto the Rift. Week 8, set 3, day 2, game 1. I changed the order up there.
Did your tongue get tired after all of that?
No.
Week 8, set 3. No?
Day 2.
Day 2. Looks like we have a bit of an invade going down. So the reason why they're walking really deep into that lane is because they're playing with Fog of War. Imp has no idea that they're there. He may suspect something, because obviously this would be the key place that you would invade from.
Oh, not so much of a bit of an invade. Now a real one as Imp is caught
The tornado
out.
start.
Yeah. If they are able to catch him, he just takes a bit of damage, but Snake looking to invade and drop a few wards.
And again, just emphasizing how this invade works. You walk down into the bottom lane, you go through the brush, and then you make sure that you almost come at a parallel angle into the river, because you don't want to come around that corner. You'll show with Fog of War.
And after getting a few deep boards, Snake decide to back away. It's answered on the far side from LGD. And now that these two teams have vision, could we be expecting any sort of lane swap style play from these as Martin and Ella opt to recall? So
this is the question that I had. LGD, they already tend to lane swap more than other teams just because they were trying to shore up TBQ. He has a good run and a lot of statistical relevance on champions like Sejuani. And then likewise with Braum and Sivir, if they were to lane swap, which it looks like they're looking for the 2v2 in the bottom side, it would unlock Braum to roam around and to abuse the power of his level 1. But it doesn't matter because They were looking for the 2v2. That said, Vayne and Giannis slipping up to the top.
Yeah, I'm not entirely certain if they were spotted out by the ward. I believe that they were, so LGD have knowledge that this is happening. Double jungle coming out of Acorn and Flandre, so looks like they expected this and are fully and wholly prepared for this to happen. Everybody's just going to go through the motions of the early game.
Really smart that both junglers and top laners are starting opposite of their duo to make sure that instead of vertical jungling that we're horizontal jungling, and they're securing both of their buffs. So making sure that there's no trickery or 3-buffing happening.
Yeah, everybody playing it safe. Nobody wants to take any chances with this sort of set because, again, now that points have become so vital to the winning team with the new playoff bracket, no one can afford to take any chances anymore, as being one spot lower means you'll have to go through one additional set in the playoffs to make it all the way to the final.
Yep, so it all just comes back to try-hard mode activated.
Yep.
Experimentation is done, but as we say that, I mean, we talk about how it counts now. You can't afford to split series, and Snake are starting 2 subs.
Well, we saw how confident they were with these subs in the Demacia Cup.
No, I completely agree. It's just it's an interesting tactic.
It definitely is. And after seeing how much Snake has grown and evolved with Crystal on the roster and with Beast on the roster, now that they're going for something a little bit different, we'll have to see if they succeed. As it right now,
this
it looks like
nuts.
They're going for a quick dive. Flandre finds his way to the top. ZZR spotted out as well. I'd be amazed if they committed to it.
They know there's 2 people on the tower, so they're already making the call that with 4 that they feel safe enough that they can dive Braum or Nectin, which to me is suicide. You've got so much CC there, especially with TBQ now on. Yeah, okay, there we go.
Yeah, they backed it.
That was still a really questionable call from the beginning. Think of the precision that you would need to execute that gank, because you have 2 of not only the tankiest members of LGD that you're trying to dive, but so much CC that you're dealing with. You did have the playful Trickster available to kind of help reset aggro, but Snake would have had to play that perfectly.
Looks like they're not taking any chances, as they don't want to give any sort of early advantages to LGD and make it towards that mid-game power spike that LGD are rocking with their team composition. As everyone's continuing to farm it up, Flandre teleporting on down to the bottom. He actually doesn't get any time to recall for any additional items, so he's just going to have to sit back and heal it up with those crystalline flasks.
If Demacia Cup has taught us anything about Snake, you were talking about kind of the maturing, the evolution that they've made over the progress of the split. It's that Snake really understand their weaknesses, and they're actively trying to shore that up and to evolve and to get better stylistically as a team. We saw that in the very beginning of the split when they decided to change Baka over into you, now kind of experimenting with ZZR as well as Martin as opposed to Crystal and Beast. But their strength has always been in Flandre. And they're constantly lane swapping. Now, think about this. Snake initiated this lane swap to put Flandre, A, on his best champion, his champion that he's really well known for, but then into a situation where he's going to be missing out on farm.
Flandre with the fast fingers dodges the first gank of the game from TBQ and manages to make it out scot-free. And if he is to be the hyper carry that his team needs, it'll certainly help to have him get all of this solo experience. But with Imp zoning him away and TBQ waiting in the wings, LGD seem to have that in their sights as well.
Yeah, but you get the solo experience anyway. It's not as punishing this time around simply because he's just facing Sivir, but they've done this in so many instances where they're prioritizing previously Crystal's farm and Crystal's well-being over Flandre. In this case, now it's Martin. And I just think that for a team that's so actively and publicly, you know, talking about kind of their weaknesses and trying to make adjustments so they can have a better playoff run this time around, I feel like this is a very big, obvious kind of issue.
We'll have to see if they address it in the next matchup, as Fizz, relatively self-sufficient in this one, doesn't seem to be having too much trouble, while the rest of Snake continue to farm it out and play it nice and defensive. Godby looking like he might group up with TBQ and catch ZZR out of position. He hasn't been spotted, but instead it's just the standard roam from LGD as they look to head to the top side, possibly get a deep ward onto that blue when it respawns, but no. They're just looking to see if they can find anyone out of position.
Big thing about Godby with these initial roams is we actually see Flandre going aggressive.
Level 6. He's getting a lot of damage onto Imp. Can he get the solo kill? Teleport being used by Acorn, but it's immediately canceled.
Forces at the teleport. We'll now see if Snake make the call to shove this wave into bottom and then rotate their top laners, use a TP advantage and look for the dragon, or if they're going to just continue to prioritize Martin's farm and freeze.
To find out, as that late game Vayne is a very strong potential carry for Snake. Again, we've talked about Flandre being another similar carry, and really it sort of speaks to how Snake have evolved over the past few weeks, because now you've got this triple threat composition. You've got Flandre, the playmaker, the man of the hour, you previously of EDG, and now you've got Martin on the late game Vayne. He's not filling out Crystal's Draven, but should be doing some serious work as well.
Here comes the swap, though. So now the question is, will Flandre be put back into that top lane since his teleport's about to come up?
We'll have to find out as that swap is initiated by LGD. And looks like Martin, he's going to head down to the bottom. You finds Godby going for the solo kill, brings him low. Flash is used, laser doesn't make it.
The casual Chaos Storm just to shove them out of lane.
Yeah.
Yu's just going to back after this one, and they should start setting up for Dragon. Although,
Flandre has teleport and Acorn does not. After that pressure on the Imp could be a potential window that we see abused. TBQ catching farm. He is not going to see ZZR. Looks like they might be able to catch PYL as the blue respawns. Awkward invade from Snake, especially with you on the recall.
They're doing it because they knew that Gragas was locked up into the top side. The problem is that ZZR has overstayed his welcome as well as leashing the wolves. They should have just placed their deep vision and gotten out. We'll see if he looks for the steal. No, he's completely uninterested.
Yeah. Seems like he's just taking it safe now. Heading towards his own blue buff to feed that over to you, as Martin on the first recall. He's down a pretty healthy amount of CS, but still is able to finish off that Bilgewater. And Imp on the other side nets himself a BF sword to make things a little bit more different, while Flandre, once again, challenging Smite Fizz, the powerhouse we all have grown to know and love.
I'm looking at Godby right now. They were moseying down for a dive. They have to back off. So the reason why Ella and Martin are just pushing as far as possible off this tower is because they didn't have vision on Godby. So even though he wasn't spotted out by a ward, they knew that Cassidy would be in the area and the threat of the dive was imminent. As soon as they see now Godby back onto vision in the mid lane creep wave, they immediately approach the tower again. So good communication and kind of forethought from Snake there.
Looks like the first tower of the game is going to go to LGD with that high health minion wave pushing forward. They're able to take that one first down. Imp 2 levels ahead of Martin with that solo experience, not to mention 20 CS.
Yeah, and likewise, so again, Snake initiated the lane swap. Hold on.
Lots of damage. Spell Shield comes out. Martin just gets level 6 as PYL teleports around. Manages to land the knockup onto Ella, but forces only the disengage.
And it's just so hard to push into a Braum, especially if he's able to connect with those Qs and with that ultimate onto you. That said, while everything is happening in the bot lane, the mid lane is tied up. TBQ will get a free dragon. But 20 CS difference, they prioritize the lane swap to give Martin kind of the bypass away from Braum Sivir, as well as try to isolate Flandre away from Renekton. And they fell behind pretty much everywhere. You have a slight CS discrepancy in the top lane, but they lost the dragon, the first tower, as well as the ADC advantage.
To be fair, it's remarkably difficult to kill a target when he's teleporting around like a Nidalee. So they tried. They did try. But again, you hit it right on the head. It's a 20 CS difference between Imp and Martin, and Flandre, who probably had one of the better opportunities to deal with Acorn in the top. He's barely 10 CS ahead, and now that LGD swap it back over, that means Flandre is probably going to have to head bottom. However, LGD look like they might be setting up for a dive. Deep ward comes out of PYL. Roam from Godby. TBQ's nowhere to be found, but the wave makes it onto the turret. Flandre makes it out.
And again, LGD just doing a fantastic job rotating their AD carry around as the 2 flat AD items, the BF sword as well as the pickaxe, and just trying to snowball into their mid-game power spike through global gold on these structures.
We'll have to see if they manage to hit that successfully, as Flandre clearing out the wolf camp, trying to net himself some additional gold, and in the mid lane, Yu continues to put some pressure onto Godby. He's barely a level ahead, but now that's the second turn picked up by LGD, and with TBQ showing himself down bottom with Acorn, it's going to be pretty tough for ZZR and Martin to bring this one down.
And again, you just have lackluster siege potential with Vayne. Now, Janna will augment that and kind of give her a bit of a buff with the Eye of the Storm Shield, as Janna will empower most siege compositions. It's just not enough, especially against the wave clear and the threat of Gragas and Renekton on that tower.
really starting to see some deficiencies open up for Snake as they're now 1,000 gold behind. They gave up that first dragon with lack of vision control. They gave up those 2 turrets with Imp's incredible pushing power. Now he finds himself in the mid lane, and Yu is out of position as this minion wave crashes into the turret. Imp's going to get some free damage off.
And again, this is also very standard. So top lane, the last standing outer tower is going to be that mid lane. So rotating Imp there, they make sure that Godby is then shoved up into another side lane. In this case, it's the top lane, so that the mid and the AD carry are not splitting farm, being as effective and efficient as possible with their waves across the map.
Yeah, and Snake, you can see they've prioritized themselves to defending that bottom side, buying time for Martin. Take a look at all of those wards on the bottom side of the map. Martin's not going to die from a gank, but he's going to need more than minions if he hopes to turn this game around.
How many? I can't count all of them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5?
It was 6.
There's like 600 gold
yeah.
in vision for this poor Vayne.
Never going to be caught out of position.
Well, frankly, though...
Plus a Janna for disengage.
Snake... I mean, the gold lead is still very slim, just slightly in favor of LGD. But Snake, they lost this early game. They lost so much control over the map with losing their 2 side lane turrets. So curious to see how Snake's going to shore and bridge this up into a mid game. If it's going to come down to a next dragon fight so they can get their footing back into this. But so far, LGD are just kind of working them around the map.
Yeah, just yanking him left and right. Godby's finding himself in the bottom. Another recall from Yu finds his turret undefended. Imp chunking through that thing's health with the stereotypical attack speed raw AD build. And let's see if he is able to get it inside the shield. Oh, Ella saves the turret.
Scumbag Ella.
Oh man, the minions. Oh no, the minions.
He's got it.
Oh, he doesn't. So close. But still, that turret's health is effectively 0. You could just walk up and auto-attack it once.
A stiff breeze would blow it down, as Monty would say.
Well, it's a good thing I'm not Monty. And there aren't any breezes on the Rift.
It's all
you ever
good.
notice how odd it is that there aren't any breezes on the Rift?
I see, like, there's rippling in the water. And when Jinx and some champions move, it looks like there's like a breeze going through their hair.
That's just because they move so quickly. Like, if you were seizing back and forth, imagine how quickly you have to actually move to cover that much distance on the ground.
This is true. Godby's in some trouble, though. Here comes parallel convergence.
Could be a dive, but just Rift walks himself right on out of there. More like a Rift scroll.
So effectively what's happening right now is Snake are prioritizing the bottom tier tower, which is good because the dragon's going to be coming up, so they need to make sure that they have that tower down so they have control over that side of the map so they can contest that objective. But they're trading possibly the bottom tier tower for the mid tier tower, as you now see LGD trying to collapse their resources mid. So can Snake get in position and stave off this siege? The answer is yes, because they're going top.
Yeah, it looks like LGD
They want the blue buff.
possibly going to try contesting the blue as you've got Acorn waiting in the wings, but isn't going to head in there in time as they know they've got to keep that turret standing for as long as possible. And as you mentioned, Snake did take down that first tier 1 on the bottom side of the map. Dragon's up in 30 seconds. We've got some recalls coming out from LGD. Could be poor timing, but it seems like it should be matched as Ella goes for a similar recall along with ZZR and Yu.
Oh, perfect timing across the board for both teams. It takes about 30 seconds to walk from the base to the dragon pit.
Sounds good.
Did you miss me, Dom? There we go. Imp just walks up, resets his auto on the W, takes the tower. That's even more control. As Flandre actually did a good job pushing that wave forward to pull Acorn back top. Acorn does have teleport available to him, but now Flandre will be able to walk from base towards the dragon pit, except he's running top lane.
Yep. Does have teleport.
Yeah, he also does have teleport, but it almost tells me that Snake are almost completely uninterested in full 5v5ing this dragon, and that they're mostly looking for a steal. That said, they do have
double smite.
They have a pretty decent power spike to fight this one. You have the completed Blade of the Ruined King on Martin, as well as John is what level? Is she level 8 or 9?
8.
8. Okay, so you don't have the level 9 Janna shield.
Well, you've also got the Morellonomicon on you, so pretty powerful spike as PYL looks to find ZZR. There's the parallel convergence. He jumps back in, but ZZR manages to stun 3 people, riding the cast. The knockup finds Godby as LGD turn it into a full fight. Flandre goes low. He gets destroyed. Ella knocks him back. Martin has finally joined the battle. He's doing so much damage. Can he be dissuaded? No. Snake's ZZR gets another kill. That's 1 now in favor of Snake. Godby goes back in, gets immediately knocked back up. They dive under the turret, and Snake are cleaning this fight up, and looks like LGD are in a bit of trouble. Imp, what are you doing, friend? He goes down to Ella.
Okay, 2 amazing things happened in that team fight. First and foremost, TBQ just got MVP for Snake because he popped Echo back into his parallel convergence to get a 3-man stun. Then beautifully followed up by an amazing reset from Ella. Ella then finds the kill onto Imp at the very end using his Janna shield, just auto attacks down. So it's the team fight, the gold lead, and the dragon now in Snake's pocket.
Yeah, well, let's break this down. PYL, you can see he starts to engage it, and oh my gosh, poor ZZR is like, oh no, I've been caught.
That is incredible.
Boom.
Just casks him right back. He's like, hey, I wanted to be here. Thanks for that, mate.
Hashtag calculated, and the rest of the fight breaks out rather chaotically. Ella disengages perfectly.
There's the beautiful reset because Acorn had just gotten back on top of Victor, completely pushes him off, allows Martin time to get in, and again, when Vayne is in her final hour, her chase potential is just absurd, and from here, it's just Martin tearing through the team.
Yeah, so much damage coming across from that empowered Vayne.
Shield.
Oh my gosh. Ooh, spell shield doesn't block auto attacks in. It was a good try, very valiant effort, but just like that, Snake have closed that gold difference and brought themselves to a 3-kill lead in addition to eliminating the threat of that 5th dragon from LGD.
Yep, slowing that one down. Martin picked himself up, what, 5 assists in that last fight?
He went 2-0-3. Wow.
Wow.
That's a Janna for you.
So we talked about, where were Snake, that they fell behind in the early game, that LGD just kind of out-rotated them, were out-pressuring them, got more control of the map, but it would lead to a dragon fight that, Snake are comfortable in their 5v5 terrain control, and that's how they step back into this. So, yes, Snake are evolving, maturing, trying out different compositions, but in the end, the old tricks work, even with 2 subs.
Yeah, I know. ZZR played exceptionally well
fantastic.
throughout the back half of that fight, and Martin, despite being a bit late to the draw, was still able to join up with the rest of his team. Though we now see LGD looking rather aggressive right now with a bunch of deep wards. I'm a bit curious as to why. There isn't that much for them to take on that side of the map.
I can't see if the red buff is spawning or if the timers, but I would suspect that because they had already placed that vision there for the dragon, that they were looking to try to make use of the vision that they'd already set up and see if they can maybe find another possible pick there, because they're still very strong. At this point, though, the next most important objective on the map for them is going to be that mid-tier tower.
Let's see if they manage to take it down. There is a lot of scary damage from LGD, not to mention an incredible amount of pick on their team if they can quite find someone, but it seems like Snake are the ones who find the advantage. Martin and Ella head themselves up to the top lane for the tier 1, though LGD immediately responds by destroying you.
And they're going to shove this one down mid lane. I don't know if they're going to be able to get the tower because they don't have a creep wave readily and available, but possibly some damage and can definitely clear out and deep ward this side of the map. And again, it's super important here because Dragon's down, you need to play the top side.
And there's the trade. If they had stayed and continued trying to shove, there was pressure at the top from Martin, pressure at the bottom from Flandre. And this is that side wave control that we wanted to talk a little bit about earlier.
And typically, LGD are very, very good at this with Godby and Acorn, particularly when Godby is on a high mobility champion like LeBlanc, like Ahri, like Kassadin in this case. But Snake, it's something that they've always been really good on, mostly on the back of Flandre, as Flandre grabs the blue buff.
Yeah, he gets the blue, finds TBQ on top of it. The knock-up to force the slow. He's taking so much damage. Flash, he's going low. Is he going to be able to make it out? He does.
Just a mechanical misplay from TBQ to attempt to use his belly bop right as the shark procced from Fizz, so it interrupted the duration that he could travel, almost costing him life right there.
Yeah, he is able to make it out of there, though. Snake turn the aggression back onto LGD. They're not able to find a kill, but they do manage to get the invade, stealing away that Raptor camp away from TBQ, while you in the mid lane finally knocks down the last remaining tier 1 for LGD. And just like that, it's even in turrets, even in dragons. The only advantage that Snake have are those additional 2 kills.
LGD misplayed the last 5 minutes pretty much on 2 team fights. The first one, that engage fight where TBQ bounced Echo into his team, and then secondly where TBQ got caught out right there. The last 5 minutes they've lost all of their momentum and pressure and allowed Snake to just farm up and take free objectives.
Yeah, and with that, we're starting to see Martin get closer and closer to that terrifying late game Vayne. 0-0-5 right now. Down about 25 CS behind Imp, but that doesn't really matter when you've got all that kill and assist gold and you're even in global gold.
It doesn't even matter for the
oh, it's about 1,000 gold.
the window on her final hour ultimate. Again, so the reason why I love Vayne and Janna is because for that final hour ultimate, just the free stats that you get off of the ultimate itself, and then the Eye of the Storm shield is just absurd. Like, every single stat has a cost associated value with it. That's like giving Vayne like 2,000 free gold and just like damage. Gets like a free BF sword. I think she probably gets 2 free BF swords. I'll have to check the map on it.
Oh, on the hunt is used. Looks like they're looking for you once again. The flash gets him out of the concussive blows from PYL. Great play, and you makes it out alive.
LGD being a little bit thirsty.
They are indeed, but not quite able to find that oasis that they're looking for.
Acorn and Flandre doing exactly the same thing, playing with the pressure points opposite sides of maps.
Yeah.
Really, it's just opening continuous farm lanes, though. The continuous farm lane being opened for Godby on his Cassidy, and then on the other side, Martin and his Vayne.
Yeah, things looking pretty solid for Snake as they get closer and closer to that terrifying late-game team, whereas LGD certainly hitting their stride as well, but just not quite finding the picks that they're looking for. Knockup finds PYL. You over the wall is not going to commit to the engage. Dragon's up in 10 seconds with teleport available for both top laners and waves pushing on both sides. Could be a point of contention.
Godby is making a, nope, he canceled. I was going to say fairly inappropriate back because Dragon is about to spawn. Looks like we're going to have a not replay. Acorn!
Oh, look at the rotation coming out. Godby's back actually gets Snake onto the Dragon, and immediately LGD move to the Baron. Can they try rushing it down? Imp waiting in the wings? No.
No way.
They just, what?
It was a mistime back from, I'm going to assume that the back actually went through for Godby. Mistime back. They didn't have Cassidy in place for this. Oh, no.
Yeah, poor Ella gets destroyed. There goes on the hunt as it looks like the re-engage. So much zone control coming out. There's the chrono break, and Yu gets demolished as well. Flandre has joined the fight, but there's not enough damage from Snake to try turning this. Martin is cleaning it up as best he can, though. Manages to get some great damage across. He brings them low. PYL is dropped a double kill for Martin. It seems like Martin is the carry that Snake need right now. He finally gets destroyed. Godby cleans him up. Imp looks to turn it around, and that's an ace for LGD.
Snake completely uncoordinated on their team fighting right there. Ella was not in position to reset that fight. And again, we talked about the first time that Snake won a fight was because as soon as Acorn got onto the backline and was able to get on top of Victor, Janna's ultimate came out, but Ella dead at the start of the fight. There's nothing to save Snake, and LGD just ripped through them. Martin is almost a saving grace. He plays the fight very well. He burns his heal a little bit maturely because he's trying to compensate for the slow. We'll see him do it in a second. He's going to get hit by Cassidy slow. There he goes. Okay, so he burns his heal right here because he's trying to compensate for that to get himself back into the fight. And then without that, it's just Godby waiting for cooldowns to come back in and pop him. Oh, look at this damage. Disgusting.
Boom, and that's with the Quicksilver Sash to try to cleanse that. He had the Quicksilver Sash.
To cleanse the slow?
Yeah,
as opposed
instead
to
of
burning
using
the
the
heal?
heal.
Well, then that's just a misplay.
Ooh. Yeah, you can see Godby feeling awful happy after that fight. Exceptional cleanup, and just like that, LGD are back in the lead. They were even able to take that mid-tier 2 turret. LGD feeling very strong. They did give up that Dragon, but finding the pick onto Ella, finding the pick on that team fight, having the presence of mind to know how Snake are going to respond right there.
This is pretty classic LGD. They've always been considered the smart team versus the mechanically strong team. Of course, that's been shored up a bit with the addition of Flame, Acorn, Imp, and Godby, even from their old mid laner Reno. But this is how they would often, get so far in the playoffs without having maybe the most star-studded rosters against these kind of brute force, very heavy, good team fighting teams. They would just out-macro them.
Yeah, seems like we're seeing another macro play out of LGD. Pings going onto the bush.
The
as
one
Snake
ward.
know exactly where they are. That ward has been up for 15 seconds, and it knows where they are. Though ZZR looking for a flank, finds himself caught out of position. Chrono Break doesn't get him far enough away. There's the reset from Ella used very prematurely, and suddenly LGD are all stacked up. They're taking so much damage. They managed to kill Flandre, but they've lost their own jungler running for their life now. Can they manage to turn it as ZZR gets onto Imp? He shreds through his health, is able to bring him low. Martin now gets engaged by Godby. He brings him low, but he goes down, and Godby at such low health. A huge laser from you gets a double kill here, and now he's chasing away Imp and Acorn, but man, you got to be careful. They could try to turn this. Oh no, there goes the Talisman of Ascension.
Cue the Scuttle Crab for the movement speed. Do it, you!
Yeah, he's thinking about it. Acorn trying to bait
Acorn.
it out. Man, they're looking for the mechanical plays. They're looking to be the stronger, skilled team right now, but can they find it? You finds Acorn with some more damage. Let's see if he's able to get in there in time. Imp turns it around. He's the one who engages, brings Imp low. He's such a low health, but flashes and makes it out of there. You styles and gets out alive.
Oh, there was so... Oh, wow. That was crazy. You, unfortunately, he just missed his laser. But again, such a back-and-forth team fight. As soon as both resets are done, the cask as well as the monsoon, anything could happen. Because it's just about who's going to be able to burst back onto the back line. Is it going to be Echo? Is it going to be Victor's laser? Or is it going to be Kassadin just rift walking back there and doing absolute destruction?
Yeah, Godby a monster in that fight. And once again, it's 3-3, so fairly even in kills and completely even in gold. But let's watch a breakdown of that fight.
And again, it's the fact that Ella was present for this fight. Immediately, Acorn's on the back line. The fight gets reset, pushes them all back into massive AoE damage for the Chaos Storm. But it's just waiting for Kassadin's cooldowns. The longer a fight goes on, the more threatening Kassadin's going to be because he can quickly reposition himself. And without the disengage available, the Monsoon, LGD then find their way onto the back line and start to trade this one evenly up. Unfortunately for you, he lands a nice laser there, but in the extended trade, he misses the crucial cooldown and isn't able to clean that one up entirely for Snake.
Yeah, an incredible play from LGD. You can see that right now. Both teams are playing out of their minds in trying to take this win. The next Dragon's up in a solid minute. And LGD hope to set their eyes on that, as they did give up the previous two to Snake after taking the first one in this game. 29 minutes in, and it is dead even between the two teams.
These team fights are absolutely absurd.
Oh, yeah.
Martin's doing really well.
He's playing remarkably well, aside from the healing instead of quicksilvering.
You know, I'm not even going to hold it against him.
But yeah, Martin playing really well. He's got to keep an eye on Godby, and despite, I think,
That's
three
impossible. It's Kassadin.
different attempts to try to zone him out in that last team fight, Godby was still able to make it into the back. There was heal, there was exhaust, and there was the condemn to knock him away, but all three times he waited it out.
Utterly terrifying right now, especially for this approaching dragon fight, because Godby has his flash available. So if you think you rift walk in, zone his hourglass, you can flash back out, and then your rift walk will be readily available. So there's a lot of potential to bait engagements or bait fights because he has the double reposition immediately with the Zoning Hourglass.
Lords are the name of the game right now, as LGD managed to find a few deep ones. ZZR gets aggressive on the TBQ, but isn't quite able to follow it up for some CC, as Acorn and Imp are waiting. Godby on the bottom side with the minions is going to be a bit late to the draw, as the Dragon is started by Snake, and both teams setting up a Cold War scenario.
It's really important that Victor is here and on top of the objective, able to set up his gravitational field.
Oh, Godby makes it back in time. There goes the parallel convergence. Is it going to find TBQ? It does, but they don't burn the Dragon. The fight breaks out. Flandre goes in, but PYL is tanking. Acorn manages to get to the back line, but gets disengaged. TBQ goes in. Godby trying to clean up on the outside. He succeeds. He brings down Flandre. Ella's low. Yu is chased out of the fight. Martin's already dead, and LGD are cleaning Snake's clock right now. Yu trying to single-handedly turn it down. He does not succeed, as Snake goes down.
That is a 5-for-1 trade in favor of LGD, and they say, forget the Dragon, we're taking Baron.
You know, rushing across the map as quick as they can right now. They're going to be taking the first Baron for themselves. 31 minutes into the game. Imp getting a triple kill off of the back of that fight.
Played that team fight beautifully, and LGD was just about being patient when they dove the back line. They knew the Monsoon was there, and Ella held it for so long, finally using it on the back half to try to save Flandre's life, but LGD, they knew we don't need to dive the back line. We just need to rip through their front line, and then they will fall.
Yeah, here's a breakdown.
Okay, so what you're going to see right here is watch where Ella is positioned with Martin and Yu. So Acorn flashes on, and again, immediately, Imp's just running through the front line of Snake, and Ella hasn't used the Monsoon yet. There's no reason because no one's diving that back line. So again, it's going back to we can go through their tank line. We don't just have to dive back and put our carries in a bad position before we can beat them.
And there's Godby managing to clean up that kill. Oh man, Acorn shouting with glee at the end of that. Amazing play from LGD as they take the fight that they've been looking for this entire game, but only now were they able to find it so crisply and cleanly.
Yeah, it was a beautiful team fight. Have the Baron now. Again, technically the most important objective for them to secure is going to be that mid lane inhibitor, but the ones that they'll go after will be those last standing outer turrets in the top lane and bottom lane.
Yeah, we'll see if that's the case as the wave gets pushed up on the bottom side and Acorn heads to the top to catch the other split from Snake, while the rest of LGD put some pressure on the mid lane. Now they do have Baron on 3 members, so they should be able to get some solid damage across.
What needs to happen right now and what you see Snake doing is, so they've pushed the bottom wave, and as soon as LGD moved out of the mid lane, you now see Flandre there. It's about warding your own jungle so you can kind of figure out where LGD are moving. Of course, Imp's just going to tank the tower and take it anyway. And then shoving waves out underneath LGD, so as opposed to using and consolidating their Baron for one objective or one tower, they're constantly having to kind of rotate around and fix their wave. So again, just the 2 wave management theories behind these teams kind of coming at an odds. As we see, again, LGD's like, okay, so Flandre is being a nuisance in this mid lane because he's trying to distract our Baron. Now we have to go take care of this wave. Flandre's like, it's cool, I'll go bottom.
Yeah.
I got teleport.
Immediately swings down to the bottom, and it seems as though LGD are doing that exactly, as Acorn looking for a flank. LGD looking to catch Flandre. They see him out of position here.
Chase me like one of your
Here
French
comes
girls.
Godby. He catches Flandre. Will he be able to get the kill? The juke from Flandre. He makes it out, manages to toss in a fish, but finally ends up going down. LGD with a dive. Imp takes 3 huge hits for Martin, getting shut down by ZZR.
Zoned out.
And with Imp dead, Martin is left to try cleaning it up with you, but he gets dived by Godby. The style Zanya. He's going down here. ZZR cleans him up along with you. They're turning this fight. Snake managed to outplay LGD here. You is solo, but he finally goes down the condemn, knocks it right back in, and Snake turn it around.
That is the power of Echo and Victor. We call it the Venn diagram composition, just setting out parallel convergence on top of Chaos Storm or top of Gravitational Field. That looked so sketch for Snake at the start of it because Acorn did a fantastic job zoning Martin to the side. What does Martin do? He tumbles backwards, he flashes over the wall to get back involved on the back half of it.
Yeah, let's watch exactly how that happens. Flandre.
This juke. Okay, so your Q travels you a set distance, so it was just beautiful of Flandre to Q and then make sure that he gets the fish off before he dies. And then here comes this incredible stacking of CC as you enters the fight, hits the laser. So you have parallel convergence. There we go. On top of Chaos Storm, on top of Gravitational Field. Martin then flashes over the side. Acorn was zoning him, and just standing behind Victor just starts shredding through LGD.
Yeah, Martin did so much damage over the duration of that fight. Godby was so intent on killing you that he kind of forgot about the fact that there's a super scary Vayne, though ZZR might be caught out here. Takes a lot of damage. He has Chrono Break, but I don't think you want to jump back into that LGD team.
Chase me like one of your Classic Flandre.
Oh my gosh.
I love when Fizz players do that.
Flandre, I don't know, man. And he is going for the classic Flandre.
Yeah, he's got the Trinity Force. Challenging Smite, Cinderhulk, Trinity Force, Fizz.
Oh, man. Such a great player. But, again, we're only about 2,000 gold ahead for LGD. And we saw when they take an advantage, they're able to take a Baron. But they still kind of make a few minor mistakes.
Again, the wave, side wave control of Snake on the back of Flandre tied up a lot of that Baron, forced LGD to rotate around the map, and Snake found a desirable fight with Flandre pulling LGD slightly out of position. So
yeah, it seems
it's not often that teams can beat LGD at kind of their own game, and Snake have actually kind of managed to do it in that instance.
And this is Snake. This is the team that runs with Crystal's murder mode Draven. This is the team that if they want a team fight, they'll do it, but they're managing to wait, juggle the team fights properly, look for the proper engages against LGD because goodness knows they need it with that crazy comp from LGD.
And a lot of that is on the back, likewise kind of the change in the evolution of Snake's team fighting in general, of having you versus Baka. So Baka was a fantastic Xerath player, but you just offer so much control. And if Yu's going to be known as anything, he was a big Ziggs player when he was on EDG, but even how he played his Orianna was completely different. A lot of people kind of criticize Yu's Orianna because he wouldn't find those massive 5-man shockwaves. Instead, what he would do is he would use the shockwave as a zoning threat to control and to kind of move players around the terrain of a fight. You see him doing this exactly on Victor, which is why Victor is a perfect champion for you, and just what it opens up for Snake's possibilities for team fighting. If you have a mid laner that not only has a much larger, much more flexible champion pool, but is able to control zones so much more efficiently than Baka ever could.
We'll have to see if Yu is able to continue his excellent performance as we're now 37 minutes into this game. 20 seconds before Dragon number 3 for both of the teams comes back up, and a minute before that Baron is back on the board as well. LGD a little bit quicker to the punch, managed to get some preliminary vision, though Snake are waiting in the wings. And could we see a repeat of what happened 5 minutes ago when LGD found that amazing team fight?
I don't know. This is terrifying. Again, in small, controlled areas like this, Echo and Victor's stacking CC is absurd, but both Imp and Godby are massive. 9, 2, and 8 on the Sivir, 8, 3, and 9 on that Kassadin.
Looks like LGD are going to try burning through. Here comes Flandre. Will he be able to go for the steal? They zone it away. No, they don't even try fighting for that Dragon. There goes the Talisman of Ascension for disengage, and Snake are caught with their tail between their legs.
Third Dragon will be the movement speed increase. Obviously, that synergizes nicely with Sivir and her composition, though it's not the end of the world, so there was no reason. If Snake had decided to fight for that and lost there, it possibly would have meant the game. So there's no reason to risk it for the biscuit. Fifth Dragon, maybe.
Well, in that case, they'll risk it for the brisket.
Yeah.
If not the biscuit itself.
No.
What about if it has, like, extra gravy?
No.
Especially against LGD.
When I think of a biscuit, I think of a cracker. I don't think of, like, a muffin that's not sweet.
Like a baked biscuit?
Yeah.
That's what I think. Wait, why do you think of crackers?
Like the...
A biscuit? A biscuit is like the sort of thing that you stick in an oven for 20 minutes. And then it comes out and it's soft and doughy and
You can stick a cracker in an oven for 20 minutes.
Yeah, and that's called a terrible cracker.
Hold on, though. LGD are setting up for a Baron bait. That said, they haven't swept out the vision on the pit. There we go. And
you could just stick the cracker in the microwave. You need the oven for the biscuit. You don't need the oven for the crackers.
Even in League of Legends, the biscuits are little cookies. They're not the, like, doughy biscuits.
Oh, could be a fight. ZZR getting way too far forward here. Looks like he wants that biscuit.
He's not doing any damage.
Yeah, seems to be having some trouble. There goes the
That
teleport. It gets canceled by Flandre. PYL instantly turns onto Martin, who sidesteps it. Disengaged from TBQ of all people as Godby looks to dive the back line. ZZR gets in, but goes down too quick. He's destroyed by Imp while the front line of LGD continue to chase forward, and Snake are crumbling like a biscuit in the oven.
That was an interesting disengage from TBQ. That said, with the third Dragon, the movement speed increase as well as the on the hunt, LGD are able to mow down through Snake. That'll surely need the inhibitor and the Baron as the ping's back ping.
Yeah, Godby was the only one who died for LGD there, and instantly LGD take that inhib, run towards the Baron, and with a huge wave building in the top and bottom lane, there's no chance Snake can contest it.
Unable to disengage, and again, because the two carries are so far ahead at this point for LGD, again, Sivir 11, 2, and 9, Kassadin 9, 4, and 10, they can just rip through that front line before quickly racing down onto the back line.
There goes the Baron secured now for LGD. Here's a breakdown of that fight. And ZZR, man, what was Snake thinking?
I don't know about this teleport was what it was really curious to me. So he's using his parallel convergence because he's trying to pull them forward out of the bush into a stun. Only finds Acorn, the tankiest member. Here's the curious thing. Flandre, bottom, tries to teleport into a ward as opposed to the minion wave that's coming up behind. Has to walk all the way into the fight. So this is a 5v4 for the majority of it. And again, the fact that LGD's carries are so potent, the front line means nothing to them as they just crash down through Snake.
Yeah, Snake ending up going down. LGD, man, they played that so well. Imp does so much damage. Currently a KDA of 10 in this match. 11, 2, and 8. He is full item if ever there was a full item Sivir. And Godvi, half an item away from being full item as well. Starting to see some pretty scary damage out of LGD.
It's just also the difference about where the gold is allocated across the team. The fact that LGD, again, it's their two primary carries. The AD and the AP have pretty much all of the kill, all of the golds, all of the farms. And on the side of Snake, it's mostly on the jungle echo, their tank. And so if ZZR mispositions like that, if Flandre isn't there to be in the fight, you don't have the mid-range threat capabilities on Victor or Vayne to cut through.
And unfortunately, without that damage, Snake seemed to be suffering just a little bit. 42 minutes in, that third dragon picked up by LGD, and despite having that Baron buff, they're not quite able to take any major objectives as LGD just put pressure on the map and try to keep Snake locked into their base.
I'm curious about the Renekton pick as well. It's been working out for Acorn, but still. Especially because he itemized. You have to itemize Sunfire early, just because it's not going to be very cost efficient to the stats it's going to give you. It's more about empowering your lane phase and your split pushing potential, which hasn't really been in Acorn's favor. He's done a good job as we see him in the top lane, now backing, core answering the waves and trying to build slow pushes. But to itemize armor so early, especially against all of the magic damage across Snake, I mean look at that. Fizz, Echo, Victor, Janna, Vayne. The armor's not going to be much to her anyway because she's going into true damage. It was a bit of a curious pick. Again, it's working for them, but I don't necessarily think it's working because it's Renekton versus Acorn's just positioned properly and using him as a good zoning tool. Obviously, he's going to slow Vayne down a little bit when he hits his Dominus and he gets more health pool for Vayne to shred through, but
a little bit tricky.
I'm still out on the jury on if I really liked the Renekton pick into this composition. Working for them, but yeah. I think that there could have been other options.
Well, with Baron, LGD find themselves on the bottom side of the map, escorting minion wave after minion wave into the inhibitor turret. Baron just falls off as the wave crashes in, so they're not able to take anything as Snake managed to clear those waves out in time and keep their base nice and safe despite that cracked middle inhibitor. Now, Dragon number 4, spawning for LGD. Snake are in no position to deal with this.
Again, Snake just trying to get to their 6th item so they can match LGD, make sure that they have level 18 on all of their members, still waiting on Ella and ZZR.
Yeah, so this is going to be Dragon number 4 picked up for LGD. That could be a 49-minute Dragon 5, and after taking 2 Barons, LGD are propelling themselves further and further into the lead as they crawl inch by inch to victory.
No reason for for Snake to put themselves in a situation to fight for that dragon. Because again, it's just 4th dragon. The next one, surely they'll have to fight for.
So
but don't want to throw the game.
Then
over 4th
we
dragon.
got to start begging the question: how do Snake turn this around?
We've seen them catch Godvi or M.
Okay. So look for picks onto the primary carries for LGD.
They have to use their utility and their disengage, so Janna, Victor, and Echo, to keep Martin alive as long as possible. That said, on the opposite end of that, the longer a fight goes down, the more rotations Kassadin's going to get for his displacement, or his reposition, excuse me, with his Rift Walk. So Godvi needs to die. If there's a pick, that's what Snake are relying on, which means they need to clear out their own jungle, secure it, but perfect team fight.
Yeah, they seem to be having some trouble as ZZR gets caught recalling, is able to tumble out in time, and makes it away as LGD are the ones who take control over Snake's jungle. And despite the pick that Snake needs, seems like they're going to have a hard time finding it with LGD roaming so aggressively in.
And they don't have a ton of pick potential is really the scary thing. So if you think their big primary pick option would have been this Fizz, but Flandre not having the greatest game of his life, especially on a champion that he's really well known for.
Yeah, some questionable decisions coming out of Flandre with
when
that teleport.
When you have to make the statement that Snake's win condition is Vayne has to survive, and then LGD's lose condition is both Imp and Godvi have to die, things look a little bit dire.
Yeah.
Because if either one of them is left up because they're both so fed, it's like, okay, we expend everything, we kill the Kassadin, the bright spot. Oh, Imp's
But we forgot about
11-2 and 9.
when we saw him go almost 1v2 while Acorn was off dancing in the bushes.
Yep.
Amazing, amazing play from Imp earlier on, but we're 46 minutes into the game, a 6,000 gold lead in favor of LGD. Dragon's going to be up in about a minute. Or that's Baron. That would be Baron number 3 for LGD. Snake finally expanding out past the safety of their base. There goes On the Hunt. Will they manage to find someone? Flandre playfully tricksters his way to safety as PYL looks for chase, but they cannot quite find it. ZZR looking for a bit of a re-engage here, but isn't able to find the parallel reconvergence. Instead, just takes some damage. And Godby, getting very aggressive, has to rift walk over the wall, and PYL gets knocked out of the fight, though Acorn looks to turn it around. Martin blows his cleanse really early. ZZR gets in, but doesn't find any damage onto Imp, who's still at completely full health. Godby dives onto the back, kills ZZR, then styles Zonia's, but takes so much damage. This stacking for Godby is huge as you destroys LGD's health bar. Imp gets picked up. What just happened? You turned that around with a triple kill.
Choke points. We talked about what is you really good at. Zone control and playing with terrain and team fights. And what happened there was LGD funneled themselves not in one choke point, but in 2 over the course of that fight and just got destroyed by Victor.
Is he trying to end? Acorn can't recall. Ella's trying to stall it out. He could end up dying here, but the rest of Snake are pushing for the base. They're getting onto inhibitor turret number 1.
They just won the game.
Yeah, they could try. There's
They just
another
won the
40
game.
seconds. Acorn's at such low health. Ella isn't able to stop the recall. They're pushing now onto the Nexus itself. Is Ella going to be able to buy enough time for his team? Oh my gosh, the Renekton recall gets canceled. They're onto the Nexus turrets. Oh, and this is Snake taking game number 1 against LGD.
A 48-minute slugfest. LGD had control of every single Baron, majority of Dragon objectives, full control over the early game, 1 team fight.
Whew, man, you can see the conversation coming out of Snake right now. Woo.
He was like, I'm too old for this.
Yeah, Acorn does not look pleased on LGD's side. They had that, and he couldn't even recall either.
How's that Renekton pick working out for you?
Oh boy, the man play, the man mode from Ella. I'm Janna into a level 18 Renekton, and I am going to stall your back long enough for my team to win the game.
I hope we get to see that last team fight again, but I mean, effectively it broke down like this. You have the choke point. Renekton pops Dominus because he needs to, because Vayne, I think, crit him and then had a silver bolt and he was immediately half health.
Yeah.
And then all of Snake are stacked into that choke point. Parallel convergence, gravitational field, chaos storm. Godby comes around the back because he's trying to assassinate the back line. Has to use his hourglass. Can't reposition quickly enough because it's 48 minutes in the game. Everyone's 6 items. Immediately popped. They funnel themselves into another choke point. Snake chase him down.
Yeah, so we do have that replay ready. Let's go ahead and take a look. And initially, things look so great for for LGD at the beginning of this fight, but just take a look at how you manages to find that positioning.
So what's just happened right now is Acorn has burned his teleport. We can go ahead and start the replay. There we go. Acorn just burned his teleport because he's looking for a flank. So at this point, ZZR just trying to get back over into his team. There's the initial choke point. LGD do a good job making sure that they disengage from that. But then here is the second one. So Acorn just immediately half health as now LGD are in this tiny little corner and Martin's able to stand freely behind his team and push into them. Godby coming over for the side. Another choke point on top of a gravitational field, on top of the Chaos Storm. Again, Martin safely in the back because they can't get through the CC, is able to just use the Vayne passive speed up and walk down through LGD.
Yeah, so much damage from you by the end of that game. And all the game, it seemed like we were talking about Snake taking it slow, taking it patient, only taking the fights that they need to, not putting themselves in bad situations, and it ended up paying off. They knew they had late game Vayne. They knew that they had used Victor in order to carry them through those rough patches, and finally, they were able to end up taking the win. Yeah,
and it all goes back to the fact that Snake, so there's very clear weaknesses across majority of the LPL teams. You can point, okay, if they just adjust this, they tweak this. But Snake seemed to be the most self-aware of where they are weak and where they are strong. The pickup, the roster change from Baka to you was one of the most impressive roster changes that I've seen over the course of LPL because it immediately targeted their problems. And we saw it right there. What are Snake incredibly good at? Team fighting. We saw that in the last split. They pick up a team fighting mid laner with fantastic zone control. And that's what just won them this game.
Yeah, so a very solid pickup for Snake. We're going to go ahead and take a quick break while we get ready for game number 2. But don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.